Hi everyone, my name is Michael Barletta, co-founder of AguaceroWx, and today we're going to be going over what workflows are and how we can utilize them in the Aguacero application. So, if you did not see my last tutorial video about customizations and bundles, you should definitely go watch that before tuning into this video, as bundles are kind of the first step in what a workflow is in Aguacero. So, what workflows basically are a combination of multiple bundles that are saved across panels and boards. And again, if you don't know what a bundle is basically just a collection of different layers of a model. So we see on this map, we have a bundle, our precipitation type reflectivity bundle, that has mean sea level pressure, snow, freezing rain, all this different composite reflectivity. So that's an individual bundle. A workflow is going to be having multiple of these bundles across different panels or different maps or different boards or different tabs. So the first step into creating a workflow is going to be having multiple panels or multiple boards. If we want to have multiple panels / maps, those are interchangeable. We have a couple of different options. The first thing we could do is come here to these preset layouts and choose a different layout. So currently we're on a single panel or single map layout. And let's say we want to change this to a split screen. We could just click that and automatically have a 2-panel layout. And we see the bundle that we had before is automatically on the left panel right there. Or what we could do is kind of customize the layout ourselves if we don't want to use one of these presets. So let's say I want to have this panel on the left, but I want to have 2 panels on the right here. We could come down here to where this arrow is and click to hold it and move it upwards. And now we could see that map is just in the top right. And down here, we could click Add New Panel. And that sets us up with now 3 individual panels here that weren't here in the first place. However, for this instance, we'll stick with the 2-panel approach and we will just go back to that. If we ever want to delete a panel or move a panel around, we could do that by grabbing this here and moving it, or clicking this X to delete the panel. So that is how we get multiple panels on the board. Now, how do we choose which bundle goes on which panel? That we could see is done by this A in the bottom left. So what that A is telling you is which panel is currently active, or which map is currently active. So we could see, since this one is active, it's saying, hey, there are no layers here because there's nothing populated here. If we left click to this panel, we now see all of the layers that are in this panel are here. And we see that in this left hand layer manager here. So if we want to add some layers onto here, or add a bundle onto the right map, we could click and we could either select one from my bundles or default bundles. But let's just quickly create one from scratch. Let's just add a layer, but let's add a different layer. Instead of models, what we could do is maybe add a real-time mesoscale analysis layer. So let's do that and add 2-meter temperature, and we'll see in a second RTMA will pop up with 2-meter temperature. So now we have layers, or we have 2 different panels with 2 different layers. So that is called, or this is what we call a workflow. So just like how we're able to save bundles, we are able to save workflows. Now, with these workflows, again, multiple different panels and multiple different maps, but we could also have multiple different boards. So if we come up here, it kind of works like how tabs do in the browser. We see we're currently on our home tab, but if we click Add New Board, we could click that, click the New Board tab, and now we see a fresh new board. We could add something onto here. Let's add composite reflectivity from MRMS, and we'll see again in a second composite reflectivity will pop up for MRMS. And we see that now here in the United States. So if we want to go back to what we already had, we can then go back and click home, and we will see the original bundles that were there before we switched are there now. So we could flip back and forth between these boards. We could rename them by clicking this edit button. We could delete them by clicking this trash icon button. But now the question is, how can we save them? So we could have multiple different layers, multiple different data sets between these panels. Now, how do we save these customizations the same way that we save a bundle? We could see here, there's this Save Workflow button. So all we have to do is click this, Save Workflow, and we see the same menu that came up for bundles comes up for workflow. So we could set the name. Let's just do Demo Workflow. We can set the category. So let's do Surface and let's do Temperature. We could set it to public or private, but let's just keep it public. And again, we will just click Save Workflow. So the workflow is now saved, and let's just fully reset the layout here so that we can start fresh. And now if we want to see where our saved workflows are, we could do that by coming over and clicking this tab button. Currently, what this is telling us is that we're only visualizing bundles. If we click this, it'll switch to workflows. We could see it automatically goes to default workflows. We don't currently have any, but if you switch to My Workflows, we could see our workflow. Surface, Temperature, Demo Workflow. You click and boom, right there is the workflow that we had previously. And we could see it's now all loaded in. Yeah, so that's kind of the general basics of how workflows work. There are a couple other things to go through. So let's quickly take 2-meter temperature for RTMA off of here. And we are also able to switch the models between workflows. So let's click ECMWF and add 2-meter, and let's add 2-meter temperature. And again, we'll see in a second, 2-meter temperature for the ECMWF will pop up. It's currently the active workflow, and we'll be able to go through the slider and kind of compare what the GFS has on the left to what the ECMWF has on. We could see now that they've both loaded in, and all we have to do is go along the time slider here, and we can compare two different models at the same time. If we want to sync the models between each other and always have them synced, all we have to do is click Sync Models and then click on the board, and now we could see that the models are synced, and we have the ECMWF on both panels. Although the ECMWF does not have composite reflectivity, we could see that now both panels are the ECMWF if we click something else, such as wind gusts. The other thing that we could do is sync the maps together. So we could see as we move in and out, the maps are synced up. If we unselect this, the maps will now no longer be synced, and you could move this map around with this one not moving, and vice versa. So that's overall the basics of how to use workflows in the Aguacero application. Thank you for watching.